The largest great white shark ever reliably measured was just over 20 feet long. Megalodon, at its maximum size, was roughly 60 feet. That comparison gets used a lot, but here's the part that doesn't. A megalodon's heart was approximately the size of a small car. Its main coronary artery was wide enough for a child to crawl through. This was not a fish that got a bit bigger than what we're used to. It was a different category of animal entirely, and for nearly 14 million years, nothing in the ocean was safe from it. Megalodon, formerly Ototus megalodon, lived from roughly 23 million years ago to about 3.6 million years ago. It was a shark, but reconstructing exactly what kind of shark has been a long-running problem in paleontology, because sharks don't fossilize the way other animals do. Their skeletons are made of cartilage, which breaks down. What survives are the teeth and occasionally calcified vertebrae. So almost everything we know about Megalodon's body comes from those teeth and from comparisons with living relatives. For most of the 20th century, scientists modeled Megalodon as essentially a scaled-up great white shark. Similar body shape, similar proportions, just much larger. More recent research has complicated that picture. The two species are not actually closely related. Great whites belong to a different lineage entirely, and Megalodon's true relatives are all extinct. What this means is that using the great white as a template may have given us a skewed picture of what Megalodon actually looked like. Current estimates based on tooth size and vertebral measurements put the largest individuals somewhere between 50 and 65 feet in length, with a weight that some researchers place above 50 metric tons. The jaws, based on tooth spacing and jawbone fragments, spanned roughly 11 feet when fully open. The teeth themselves reached over 7 inches in some specimens, serrated, thick, and built to hold rather than simply cut. What Megalodon was not, despite its reputation, was fast. Its sheer mass would have made the burst speeds of a great white impossible to sustain. It was built for power and persistence, not pursuit. The fossil record for Megalodon's hunting behavior is better than most people realize, not because we have behavior preserved directly, but because we have the damage it left on prey. Whale bones from the Miocene and Pliocene show Megalodon tooth marks in very specific locations. Early theories suggested Megalodon attacked from below, the way great whites ambush seals. But the fossil evidence points towards something different. The bite marks on many whale specimens are concentrated around the shoulders, flippers, and rib cage, the areas where bone is thickest and where immobilizing an animal would be most effective. This suggests a hunting strategy aimed at disabling prey rather than delivering a single killing bite. A 2022 study examined a set of whale vertebrae with Megalodon bite marks and found evidence of repeated biting at the same location across what appeared to be a prolonged attack. The researchers concluded that Megalodon likely used a grip and pull method on large prey, biting into the shoulder or flipper region, holding, and using its body weight to drag or destabilize the animal rather than relying on speed. For smaller prey, dolphins, smaller whales, large fish, the approach was almost certainly more direct. But the evidence suggests that when Megalodon was targeting large baleen whales, which made up a significant portion of its diet in the later part of its range, it had developed a specific and effective method that had nothing to do with the ambush strikes we associate with modern sharks. The animal that had been at the top of the ocean food chain for over a decade of millions of years had apparently learned, through evolution, exactly where to bite. Megalodon disappeared approximately 3.6 million years ago. The simple explanation, the one that gets repeated most often, is that the climate cooled, the shallow, warm seas it preferred shrank, and its prey moved to colder water it couldn't follow. That explanation is broadly accurate, but it's also incomplete. The more complicated version involves timing. Around the same time Megalodon was disappearing, two things were happening in the ocean. The great white shark, which occupies a broadly similar ecological role, was expanding its range, and a group of marine mammals called macroraptorial sperm whales, large toothed predators capable of hunting other whales, were also present in significant numbers. Whether these species actively competed with Megalodon for food or simply filled the space as Megalodon's population contracted is still debated. A 2024 study looked at zinc isotope ratios in Megalodon teeth and great white shark teeth from overlapping time periods and found evidence that the two species were feeding at the same trophic level, eating the same types of prey. The study's authors were careful not to overstate the conclusion, but the implication is that competition for food resources may have been a meaningful factor in Megalodon's decline, not just climate. The ocean was changing, the competition was intensifying, and Megalodon, which needed an enormous amount of food to sustain its mass, had less margin for error than smaller, more adaptable predators. What ended the largest predatory fish in Earth's history was probably not one thing. It was a combination of environmental pressure and biological competition arriving at the same moment, the worst possible timing for an animal with no room to adapt quickly. The claim that Megalodon might still be alive surfaces regularly, and it's worth addressing directly. The argument usually rests on the idea that the deep ocean is largely unexplored, and that a large animal could theoretically remain undetected. This argument doesn't hold up to scrutiny. Megalodon was not a deep-water animal. The fossil evidence places it consistently in shallow, warm coastal waters, the same waters that are among the most studied marine environments on the planet. A living Megalodon would need to feed constantly to maintain its size, and that feeding would produce evidence. Whale carcasses with characteristic bite marks, teeth shed during feeding, direct sightings in the areas it would have to inhabit. None of that exists. The last confirmed Megalodon teeth in the geological record date to approximately 3.6 million years ago. There is no credible physical evidence of the species existing beyond that point. The scientific consensus is unambiguous. What is true, and what tends to get lost in these discussions, is that we have recovered Megalodon teeth from the ocean floor that initially appeared to be much younger than that. Teeth with what looked like recent manganese coatings, suggesting they hadn't been buried long. Those samples were later dated properly and found to be millions of years old. The ocean floor preserves things strangely. A tooth that looks fresh can be ancient. The ocean is not hiding Megalodon. It's just very good at making old things look new. Megalodon is gone. What it leaves behind is a question that marine biologists are still working through. What the ocean looked like when a 50-ton apex predator was removed from it, and what filled the space. Because something always does.